Hello, everyone. So today I want to talk about Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, right? Who I think is very good for gun rights. Okay. Now, when I say good for gun rights, I don't mean that she's like a 100%, pro-gun rights absolutist. Okay. What I mean is that she's a good ally for gun rights. Okay. So what do I mean by an ally? Well, consider the situation back during World War II, where you had United States, Soviet Union, uh, England, France working together, okay, to fight the Allies. And in the case of France, you had pretty much working together as a as an underground sabotage network. But besides the point, so you had the United States and Soviet Union working together. Were they friends, right? Do you think that the United States had the best interests of the Soviet Union in mind, or the Soviet Union had the best interest of the United States in mind? No, okay, they were just working together for a common cause. Okay, same thing with the United States and Great Britain and France, right? Do you think the United States had the British Empire's best interests at heart, who they had, basically they had been working to destroy their colonies for like the 50 years before that, or the same thing with France, where they were trying to destroy the French colonies for the 50 years before that, because the United States was very colonialist, and they were looking to undermine the colonies of those two powers, around the world. So United States, England, France, Soviet Union, not friends, okay? But they were working together for a common cause, okay? And in the end, obviously, the United States was the great beneficiary out of all of this. Completely destroyed the British Empire, right? Destroyed the French colonies, okay? Ultimately undermined the Soviet Union, okay? That was the goal of the United States, okay? Germany and Japan, I think, were just a means to that end. Now, fast forward to today, our situation, right? We got Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, right? Who has been better for the gun rights cause, certainly than Biden's Attorney General, right, Garland, or just let's go back to Trump's first term, Jeff Sessions, right? Did he ever do anything to help gun rights? Okay, so in the case of Pam Bondi, she has actively done some things to help our cause, starting with like the damage she has done to the ATF, okay, which I think she did like in the first couple of months. That by itself, okay, gets her a special place in the gun rights community, okay? There's other court cases that are going on that she has been very helpful. Now, mind you, she is working for the government, right? And in a lot of these cases, she has to take the adversarial position, right? That's her position. That has to be the position of the Justice Department in a lot of these cases. So she has to show some resistance, but it's like a question of how much resistance is she going to put up? How much of a good fight, okay, is she going to put into it? Okay, so we have been winning lots of gun cases, right? Just recently, the case with the post office gun carry case down in Texas, okay, where we managed to get a national injunction for FPC members and SAF members, so that if you basically you can carry a gun in the post office. I talked about in another video. Don't recommend you open carry, right? I don't think you want to be the test case on this, because local law enforcement, the local prosecutors, they may not be on board with Pam Bondi. There's a lot of conflict within the Justice Department, so I don't think you want to be the test case. But legally, you can carry in a post office if you are a member of SAF or FPC. Okay, now how hard is Pam Bondi gonna fight this thing? Okay, she could try to appeal it, okay, or she could just let it sit. Okay, so that's a choice she has. She could, and if she appeals it, she could try to get a stay on this. Okay, so these are things to watch. The other thing is, if she doesn't put up some type of resistance, there's a good chance that anti-gun groups might step in and basically petition the court to let them argue in her place. That is a possibility, and I'm not a lawyer. I have heard of such situations in the past. Okay, so I think that she does have to put up some resistance, but how much resistance is she going to put up? Okay, now the judge in that post office case, in his judgment, said that those two groups, SAF and FPC, would have to basically hand over the list of members. Okay, so Pam Bondi did not request this. The judge did this, or his clerks did this on their own. Okay, and Pam Bondi, her office made a statement that she did not request this, and what her office did is they requested that the judge reverse that requirement, and the judge, okay, did in fact vacate, okay, that part of his judgment. So FPC and SAF do not have to hand over the list. Now, she could have just left it alone, right? She didn't, okay? So, and there was another statement that her office made, very much in favor of gun rights. So these are the clues that we kind of have to look at. And again, she is, I don't believe for a second that in her heart she's 100% gun rights. She's certainly not an absolutist, okay? But she's better than any attorney general that we have ever had. And it's important to understand that the attorney generals are prosecutors, okay? They basically, their job is to put people in jail, restrict their rights. That's what they do, okay? They put people in jail. So there is no prosecutor in the country, none, whether Democrat, Republican, or independent, right? There is no prosecutor, right, that is ever going to take the position of a gun rights absolutist. My position is that if you're safe enough to be on the street, you're safe enough to have a gun, okay? There is absolutely no prosecutor, nobody that would ever have a chance of getting nominated to that position that is going to take that position, okay? Because first of all, even if Trump would nominate such a person, right? Like, I think the closest thing we had was Matt Gaetz, okay? How did that go? Okay, what were his chances of actually getting through a Senate confirmation? 0. Okay, so I suspect that Trump put Matt Gaetz out there as a feeler to, basically give them somebody to reject, so that then they could just approve everybody else after that. So I think that was strategic on his part. But the point there is that, hey, Matt Gaetz, right? He would have been great for us, but zero chance of actually getting confirmed. So we got to be realistic in this. Pam Bondi is actually getting us real wins. We're making real gains, starting with the damage again that she has done to the ATF that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Okay, that is a real gain for us. Okay, so yeah, it makes absolutely no sense for us to turn against her. Right. First of all, there's no way she's going to resign her position, right? Because we say so. Secondly, there's no way Trump would want her to resign her position, because she has been immensely successful for Trump. Okay, Trump has had something like 20 consecutive victories in front of the Supreme Court, and basically the Justice Department is in charge of running that. Now, I think the Solicitor General, who's the person that argues in front of the Supreme Court, basically works for Pam Bondi, okay? So she's in charge of managing all that. So she has been extremely successful with the Supreme Court for actually getting things done. I'll go back to Matt Gaetz. I mean, yeah, I absolutely love his position, right? But you know what? Taking a strong principled stand, okay, and not winning anything, right? Not getting actual victories is worth zero. Okay, there's absolutely zero value in taking a strong principled stand. Okay, you know, a non-compromising stand that you can't actually win, and you just lose, and you get set back, and you know, keep getting set further and further back. Okay, so I'd rather have victories. I would actually prefer that we incrementally expand our gun rights, which has reversed the past trend of incrementally losing our gun rights. So we didn't lose our gun rights in just one day. It was done incrementally. Okay, that's how we're going to win our gun rights back, incrementally. That's how the system works. The Supreme Court is not Second Amendment absolutist. Okay? Absolutely not. They are not. I don't care whether it's right, wrong. You can scream from the rooftops. They are never going to take my position. If you're safe enough to be on the street, you're safe enough to have a gun. Absolutely not. They are basically prosecutors, right? They are law and order people. In fact, Republicans, the vast majority of Republicans, are law and order people, right? They are not, you know, they definitely not libertarians. They're not gun right absolutists. Nothing even close. So the current situation with Pam Bondi is probably the best position we have ever been in with regards to an attorney general. Okay, now I'm going to caution you guys on one important thing, and I'm going to do a separate video on this. Okay, the anti-gunners, the Democrats, are desperate to try to get us to start fighting against each other, right? Because the Democrats have a problem. Okay, the problem is that there's such a wide gap between their far left and their moderates, right? Their center. There's such a wide gap that the two are unreconcilable. Okay, that party, if it keeps going like this, is eventually going to break up. Okay, so that gap is absolutely unreconcilable. The gap on our side, right, the Republican side, all right, and I'm not saying this because I love Republicans. I say this because I vote for Republicans because they're better than Democrats. But on our side, the gap between the far right and the Republican center is not that much. Right? If you think about it, what's far right and what's center for Republicans? Am I far right because I take an absolutist pro-gun rights position, versus somebody that, a moderate Republican that says, hey, people with felony convictions shouldn't have guns, right? That's really not that far of a gap. I'm willing to compromise on that position to get other things, right? So I'm not gonna, although that's my principled position, yeah, you know what? I'll give it up to, let's say, maybe get suppressors or SBRs out of the NFA, right? So that's, to me, that's practical, okay? And I'll take that win, and then I'll keep pushing for more, okay? So that's how I do things. That's how, that's why I've been fairly successful in my life, because I keep getting victories, and this is outside of gun rights, just in general. I keep taking victories, and then I lock in those victories, and then I try to go beyond that, okay? But anyway, again, what is far right? Is far right somebody that goes to church every Sunday, right? And in my case, maybe I go to church, let's say on the holidays, like 2 or 3 times a year, right? So am I moderate and they're far right? So again, the gap isn't that big. So the important thing here to know is Democrats know that they have a major problem in their party because they got this huge gap between their left and their center, okay? And there's always, there's no way for them to resolve the infighting. So the best that they can do, right, is try to get the Republican side to fight within itself, okay? So they're constantly looking for ways to get us to fight each other. And one of the ways that I see that they have picked is trying to get the gun community to turn against Pam Bondi and Trump on gun rights issues, because those two are not gun rights absolutists, okay? Don't fall for that, okay? They're continually poking and provoking, and they actually, I've actually seen fake gun rights groups that are really pushing that, right? I've seen lots of stuff on the internet where you got, lots of these a lot of these fake groups, right, that are trying to get us to demand that Pam Bondi resign. They're trying to make a big deal out of the Epstein files, which I don't give a rat's ass about. I just don't. The guy's dead. It's just where we are right now. That's in the past. Okay. The guy's dead. You're not going to get him to testify. It's just completely pointless. Trying to get these files released. What's in these files? What, his phone list? The guy probably has 10,000 names, saved on his phone. Hey, you know what? I got like 3,000 names saved in my phone. Some of them going back 15, 20 years. I don't even know who some of them are at this point. Okay, so is that what they're trying to release? His phone list, right? So what's a list? Okay, so again, this is the Democrats desperate to try and get us to fight each other. Because they know that they can't resolve, there's no way that they can possibly resolve the infighting problem on their side, right? So their only solution is to try and get some infighting on the Republican side to even that out, okay? So, and it's a very sound strategy. My hat's off to them, right? That is a great strategy. If I was a Democrat, yeah, I'd be pushing that too, okay? Because it's a really good idea, okay? But don't fall for it, okay? So anyway, drop some comments. Let me know what you guys think, okay? But we've been doing really good. We are making incremental progress. And like I said earlier, we didn't lose our gun rights in one day. We're not going to get our gun rights back in one day, but we are making progress, okay? So drop some comments. It helps push the algorithm, and I'll talk to y'all soon.